Hi guys, it's Ellen and today I have an art journal layout to share with you. So I'm working in an old bullet journal today. I used to do bullet journal videos on YouTube, but I don't know, kind of fell out of love with them. So I have this pretty much full bullet journal book and I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought I would use it as an art journal, and obviously it has the dot grid in the background, but as long as I cover it up with gesso then you can't really tell, and the paper is really nice, so I didn't want it to go to waste. I also fancy doing something on a bit more of a smaller scale this time, because normally I have a big A3 sheet of paper that I work on, and I just wanted to do something smaller so I could add more detail to it, and I like how it turns out, so I think you'll see me working in this book a lot more in upcoming videos. So what I've done is taken some pattern paper, cut them into rough squares. I've not measured them or anything. I've then distressed the edges to add some texture, and I've then also got some fabric squares as well. It doesn't matter what the pattern is on the paper or the fabric, because I'm going to cover it all up with white gesso. I just wanted it in the background as texture. So I'm going all around the edge of the page with sort of collaging the pattern paper and the fabric together, just to add, like I said, texture on the outer edges of my page. And I've then got this magazine image of a lady, and I've cut it sort of diagonally across her face, because I'm going to be doing like something coming out of her, if that makes sense. You'll see what I mean later on. So yeah, once I've got all of those pieces collaged down, I'm just going over with gesso. I actually do 2 coats just to cover up all of the pattern, because the fabric pattern was showing through quite well, so I did a couple of coats to go over that, and as you can see here, it completely covers up the dot grid lines in the background, so it doesn't really matter. I've then taken some pieces from my scrap drawer, so I've picked some 3 different pink pattern pieces, and I'm going to stamp lots of these little flowers on there. So this is what I mean, I wanted the flowers to sort of come out from behind the lady where I cut part of her face off. It made sense in my head, but now that I'm explaining it, it's a bit confusing, but I'm stamping a load of those flowers and then I fussy cut them out, which you don't see me doing all of that because that would be boring. So once I've done that and my gesso is dry, I've taken 3 different blue acrylic paints, and the first blue, the lightest blue, I'm just painting all over the page, just as my background colour. And then I'm going to take the other blues with my palette knife and add those in areas on the page, mainly focusing the darker colours on the outside of the page. I like to do this because it seems to draw your eye into the centre of the page. So once the paint is dry, I've taken some ripped up pieces of washi tape again in blue tones, and I'm adding them across the page. Around the outside, again, helps to draw the eye inwards. Washi tape is not always very sticky, and especially if you're adding it to something with a lot of texture in the background. So I've just taken some PVA glue and gone over the washi tape just so I know it's secure and it's not going to come off later on. I've then got this script stencil, and I'm just putting some black acrylic paint through it. This ends up being quite subtle, you can't see a lot of it, but I'm quite happy with that. And then I also sponged some of that black paint around the edges of my page again, for the same reason. I like it to be darker on the edges and lighter in the centre. I've then got the picture of that lady, and I'm going to glue that down in the bottom left hand corner, and then I'm going to start arranging my flowers. So like I said, I've done them sort of coming out of her head. And I've stuck some just with PVA glue so they're flat, and then some I've stuck with a little bit of foam to add some dimension to the page. I then have my quote, which says, "You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it," and the fight and win it I stamped with a text stamp, obviously, and the rest of the quote I just wrote. I like to have the different fonts in my quotes because it makes the main part of the quote stand out, if that makes sense. And to add some interest behind that, I've taken some ripped up vintage book paper and just added that behind the two lines of text that I wrote, and all of the pieces that I wrote the quote on, I went round the edge of all of them with my black ink pad again, just to make them stand out. I've then got my Do Crafts, I can't remember what it's called, like it's sort of like enamel dots when you put it onto the page. So I've put that into the centre of each flower and then added some random spots on the page, and then I also did the same with a clear one, again just to add another texture and some interest to the page. And that is my page all finished. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you very much for being here. Bye guys!